Tonight on Y News. The House Committee on Justice dismisses impeachment complaint against President Rodrigo Duterte. The Sandigan Bayan denies Janet Lim Napolis's motion to be transferred to the NBI detention facility. President Rodrigo Duterte pushes for continuous economic growth for the Philippines during the Belt and Road Forum in Beijing, China.
The Interior and Local Government Department is confident that the Philippine delegation is able to convince the United Nations regarding the human rights situation in the country. A new law prohibiting the use of gadgets, including cell phones, while driving is set for implementation on May 18. The Department of Education's week-long Brigada Eskwela 2017 kicks off today.
Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center, this is Y News with Angelo Castro III and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. The House Justice Committee has dismissed the impeachment complaint filed against President Rodrigo Duterte. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
Sufficient in form but deficient. Yun yung malinaw na lumabas kanina. Sufficient pero deficient siya in the verification kasi sa verification ang sinumpaan niya ay meron siyang personal knowledge and based on authentic documents. If you look at all of the allegations, wala siyang personal knowledge. If you look at all of the documents appended thereto, hindi authenticated.
With the unanimous decision, the impeachment complaint filed by Magdalo Party List Representative Gerry against President Rodrigo Duterte was dismissed for insufficiency in substance. According to House Justice Committee Chair Congressman Ray Umali, the committee members were not convinced that the complaint was verified and has basis. They added that Alejano failed to present authentic records and documents to back up his claim that President Duterte should be removed from position due to treason, graft and corruption, betrayal of public trust, and other high crimes.
Kaya nga ho sinasabi ko, multiple hearsay na po ito, quadruple hearsay. At mahirap naman po to drag the whole house in things like this and then you're expecting na we will issue the subpoena, yung impeachment court lang po ang pwede mag-issue niyan.
On the other hand, Alejano still insists that his impeachment complaint has basis.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I affirm the contents of the verification that I have personal knowledge based on facts culled from authentic records.
Is ready to present authentic records if only they went through the proper impeachment procedure.
It is not yet the time. Kaya nga sinabi ko, will I be allowed to present? In form and substance pa lang tayo. Di ba? The point is there are processes. Ngayon kung nagdi-discuss na ho tayo, kung tama ba yun mali, doon yan sa hearing.
Alejano said they are contemplating on elevating the matter to the International Criminal Court or the ICC. Now that the impeachment complaint against President Rodrigo Duterte has been declared insufficient in substance, the House Committee on Justice will now make a report on the dismissal to be submitted before the House plenary. Based on rules on impeachment proceeding, no impeachment complaint can be filed against the president for 1 year following the first complaint. Meanwhile, Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Attorney Salvador Panelo slammed the impeachment complaint against the president and called it as pure hearsay, intended only to tarnish the reputation of the chief executive. Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The fake witness allegedly used by Senator Antonio Trillanes IV and other members of the opposition in filing a complaint against President Rodrigo Duterte before the International Criminal Court is now seeking the help of the DOJ. According to Guillermina Arcillas, who was accompanied by lawyer Bruce Rivera, they didn't know at first where to seek help. She says she is planning to file complaints against Trillanes, attorney Jude Sabio, and other individuals for coercing her to testify against the president on the so-called extrajudicial killings and the killings allegedly committed by the Davao Death Squad. She was asked by Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre if she wanted to be placed under the Witness Protection Program, but declined, saying she felt safe in Davao.
Sa umpisa pa lang alam ko na na hindi totoo, fake witness lang talaga kami. Tapos yun pong po yung nasa laman ng affidavit was i-forward lang po sa akin yun through email. Nandun na po yung mga ebidensya.
No reason for us to fear for her life, but of course we just have to be, we just have to make sure that she is okay.
The Sandigan Bayan denies the motion filed by Janet Lim Napoles that she may be transferred to the NBI from the Correctional Institution for Women. Monokson will tell us why.
The Sandigan Bayan 1st and 3rd Division today ordered the transfer of pork barrel scam queen Janet Lim Napoles to the Bureau of Jail and Management Penology Facility in Camp Bagong Diwa, Taguig City. This after the Graft Court denied the motion of Napoles that she may be transferred to the National Bureau of Investigation. The court says that it is stated in the law that an accused person undergoing trial must be in the custody of the BJMP and not in any facility. The court adds that there is no evidence that the BJMP facility in Camp Bagong Diwa, Taguig is not safe. The court points out that the NBI is not mandated to shelter accused personalities undergoing trial. However, Napoles still has one more motion pending at the 5th Division that also handles her graft and plunder case. The court is still waiting for the comment of the prosecution on the same arguments. Meanwhile, the Sandigan Bayan 1st and 3rd Division issued the commitment order, and this was brought by the sheriff at the BJMP. According to a statement sent through SMS by the lawyer of Napoles, Attorney Stephen David, they plan to file a motion for a consideration after they receive a copy of the resolution. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Sandigan Bayan.
President Rodrigo Duterte aims for continuous economic growth for the Philippines in his participation in the Belt and Road Forum in Beijing, China. Rosalie Cos is in Beijing, China to tell us why live. Yes, Rosalie, go ahead.
Good evening, Darlene. The two-day Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation had just been concluded, and Chinese President Xi Jinping said this is just a start of more strengthened relationship and commitment of countries pushing for world economic growth. Chinese President Xi reported that there are 68 countries and international organizations that signed agreement with China on Belt and Road cooperation. And this is the infrastructure connectivity from Asia, Middle East, all the way to Europe. 29 leaders of various countries arrived past 9 this morning at the Yankee Lake International Convention Center in Beijing, China to attend the second and the final day for the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. Among those who Chinese President Xi Jinping welcomed for the Leaders' Roundtable discussion were President Rodrigo Duterte and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Leaders' Roundtable Summit is a venue for leaders' exchange of views on trade and economic concerns. Chinese President Xi said though the Belt and Road Cooperation is an initiative of China, it is for the world because no nation can stand on its own to resolve global economic challenges.
Initiative originates from China but belongs to the world. It involves countries in different regions at different development stages and with different cultures. It is a platform of open and inclusive cooperation and a public good we jointly provide to the world.
The Chinese president also said in pursuit of international economic cooperation and further infrastructure connectivity, extensive consultation, joint contribution and welfare of participating nations are considered. He also adds that no nations aiming for economic growth through cooperation shall be excluded in the Belt and Road Initiative.
While the Belt and Road Initiative focuses on the Asian and European continent, it is open to all like-minded friends. It does not exclude or target any party.
President Xi also pledged around $124 billion of funds for the Belt and Road Cooperation.
中国将加大对“一带一路”建设资金的支持，向丝路基金新增资金1000亿人民币，鼓励金融机构开展人民币海外基金业务，规模预计约3000亿元人民币。中国国家开发银行、进出口银行将分别提供2500亿元和1300亿元等值人民币专项贷款，用于支持“一带一路”基础设施建设、产能和金融合作。
We will cooperate on the areas where our interests converge.
So yung benefit sa atin talaga, it's really enhanced trade, investments sila going to the Philippines.
Meanwhile, during the leaders' roundtable discussion, the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs said President Duterte talked about concrete proposals on generating economic growth and addressing global economic challenges. The Philippine president also introduced his Build, Build, Build infrastructure program during the plenary session. He also talked about the enforcement of laws to address the illegal drug trade and stressed his commitment to combat corruption as well as the clean and green infrastructure. On the other hand, Chinese President Xi Jinping also said the second Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation will be in 2019. Meanwhile, Darlene, President Duterte had just met with Chinese Premier Li Keqiang and Chinese President Xi Jinping. These meetings are a follow-up of the agreement signed between the Philippine and Chinese government when President Duterte visited China in October 2016. President Duterte and his delegation are set to depart for Davao City tonight, and they are due to arrive in the Philippines around past 2 in the morning, Tuesday. That's our latest live report here in Beijing, China. Back to you, Darlene.
Thank you, Rosalie. And that's Rosalie Cos reporting live from Beijing, China.
Filipino and U.S. troops conducted a joint combined exercise on civil-military activity from the sea in Casiguran, Aurora. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
The Philippine Air Force flew 2 UH-1D helicopters earlier to conduct an aerial reconnaissance to determine the extent of damages in an area. Afterwards, BRP Tarlac and a U.S. logistic cargo ship arrived. Help continued pouring in for the supposed victims, with the participating troops carrying them into rigid-hulled inflatable boat, LCU landing craft utility of the Philippine Navy, as well as into the Black Hawk and MV-22 Osprey of America. The scenario was that Casiguran became an isolated area after a calamity struck, and there's no other way to deliver the aid but through the sea. This is part of the ongoing Balikatan exercises between the Filipino and American troops. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, says the said training is important for the country is prone to typhoon and other calamities.
The importance of saving lives is paramount in the Philippine situation. Every year, the given scenarios that we meet, it is always no-brainer that there will always be a typhoon. There will always be a disaster hitting the Philippines, and hence the readiness of the Philippines.
In particular, that which brings value of critical importance of increasing the speed of response to the people of the Philippines by saving lives and reducing human suffering in the event of disasters brought about by super typhoons and earthquakes.
The military officials also clarify that the drill have nothing to do with the issue on the Benham Rise. Casiguran is a strategic area as typhoon often passes through it, and it is difficult to access during times of calamities, thus the venue of the drill.
It is also very isolated. From time to time, hindi siya na-access ng land. So gusto natin i-practice from the sea. Dahil yung sea, we could bring more assets and bring more resources.
The Philippine-U.S. Balikatan exercises will run until May 19 with venues in different parts of the country. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The upper chamber of Congress approves today some of the priority bills of the administration. These are the proposed extension of validity of the Philippine passport from 5 to 10 years. With 18-0 votes from the plenary, the approved bill basically aims to help overseas Filipino workers and seafarers. The bill will now be brought to the Bicameral Conference Committee for ratification and final signing of President Rodrigo Duterte. Meanwhile, the plenary also approved a bill on stiffer penalties against erring hospitals and medical treatment facilities who are refusing patients with no advance payments or deposits. Also approved without opposition was the expansion of the exemptions from revealing the sources of a news agency.
Department of Transportation and Communications Secretary Jun Abaya faces the Senate probe on the MRT3 maintenance providers' contracts and insists there were no anomalies in them. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
The Senate Committee on Public Services today scrutinizes the maintenance contract of the then Department of Transportation and Communications for MRT3. Committee Chairperson Senator Grace Poe says the public have been experiencing delays and problems in the operations of MRT and that these problems should have been long addressed by the maintenance providers. In the hearing, Senator Poe questioned the 2012 maintenance deal contract of DOTC to PH trams. According to Poe, the company only paid 625,000 pesos capital for the project compared to the 54 million pesos that the government has to shoulder every month. The chairman of the PH trams named Marlo de la Cruz is allegedly a stalwart of the Liberal Party.
Yung kanyang kumpanya, bagong-bago, bagong incorporate, napakaliit ng kapitalisasyon. Ang meron lamang siya ay koneksyon dun sa mga nakaraang nakaupo sa DOTC.
The former DOTC secretary, however, refuted the allegations of anomaly. Abaya says he didn't know the background of the service provider given that he was new at the post during that time. Meanwhile, the former secretary stands firm that there were no anomaly on the contracts entered by the MRT during his term. He adds that the procurement of the 48 light rail vehicles is not dubious. Abaya says based on the contract with the CRRC Dalian, the said LRVs should have full compatibility with the MRT system.
Kumbaga, hindi dapat pumayag ang ating pamahalaan na tanggapin, bayaran ito kung hindi po gagana. Malinaw na malinaw po na CNR or CRRC Dalian is fully responsible to ensure the signaling works. Hindi po dapat magturuan sila. At the end of the day, kung pumalpak po ito, ang tanging sisihino natin ay CRRC.
The Senate probe on this issue and on other MRT problems will resume on Thursday. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
A new law prohibiting the use of gadgets, including cell phones, while driving will take effect on May 18. Joanano will tell us why.
The Land Transportation Officer LTO will strictly prohibit starting May 18 the use of cell phones and other gadgets while driving. The prohibitions under Republic Act 10913 or Anti-Distracted Driving Law covers texting, calling, and surfing on the internet while driving, even though the vehicle is on a stop during a red light.
Kung ikaw ay nasa intersection at nag-red, gagamit ka ng hahawak ka ng cellphone o kaya mga ibang gadgets like even a transceiver at the time na temporarily stop ka, ito po ay violation.
The Section 5 of the law states that a driver can answer a call but only when the phone is on a loudspeaker. A driver can also park his vehicle on an emergency bay when he or she really needs to use the phone. The law exempts a driver when his call or message is an emergency.
Halimbawa, tumatawag ang isang driver, tumatawag siya sa law enforcement na sa mga pulis para mag-report ng nakikita niyang crime. Ito po ay exemption. O kaya isang medical practitioner, mga doctors po, na habang tumatakbo yung sasakyan nila, ay nagbibigay sila ng mga paunang mga instructions doon sa isang emergency.
The LTO is the primary agency tasked to implement the new law with the help of the LTFRB, PNP Highway Patrol Group, MMDA, and local government units. The LTO clarifies the law allows the use of community-based traffic and navigation applications for the search of alternate routes. The agency says the phone or gadget should just be in the right position and does not distract the driver's attention. Several motorists have expressed support for the implementation of the new law.
Kahit ako naiinis sa mga nasusundan kung hindi gumagalaw na sasakyan dahil sa kung hindi may kausap, may nagte-text. Okay lang yun. Okay lang, iwas aksidente.
Delikado sa kalsada, minsan nagbabagal, minsan kumigewang-gewang. Kapag nasa highway ka, dapat focus ka lang sa kalsada.
Motorists found violating the anti-distracted driving law will face penalties. First-time offenders will face a fine of 5,000 pesos, 10,000 pesos for the second-time offenders. Third-time offenders will face a fine of 15,000 pesos and 3-month suspension of license. Those committing the offense for 4 times in a row will have to pay 20,000 pesos and face cancellation of license. The LTO clarifies that for now, it will just accost motorists violating the law, as traffic enforcers still need to undergo training seminars for the law's implementation. The LTO has allotted 3 months for the training of law enforcers and the implementation of information dissemination to inform all motorists about the new law. Jun Abaya, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Next on Y News. The Department of Education's week-long Brigada Eskwela 2017 kicks off today.
And the Interior and Local Government Department is confident that the Philippine delegation is able to convince the United Nations regarding the human rights situation in the country.
Y News will be right back. Students, teachers, and several groups held bayanihan by cleaning up school campuses today. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
3 weeks before the opening of classes, the Department of Education begins the conduct of the yearly Brigada Eskwela today. The regional kick-off of the program in the National Capital Region was conducted earlier at the elementary and secondary schools of Navotas City and was led by USEC and Sevilla. The principal of the Kaunlaran High School says they need more chairs this year for the incoming grades 11 and 12 students.
Itong mga upuan na to ay siguro mga 300 pieces yan na kailangan nating iayos dahil ito ay mga nasira nung nakaraang taon. Sayang naman kasi kung itatapon natin.
Representatives from the Armed Forces of the Philippines have also participated in the fixing of classrooms in the public school of Navotas.
Sila yung nag-shoulder doon sa health and beauty room and food and beverage room. Nagpa-tile sila doon and salamin.
Volunteers from the Members Church of God International have also helped in the cleaning and painting of classrooms and chairs. Officials of DepEd also made rounds to ensure that school campuses are ready for the opening of classes in June.
Ang lagi namin tinitingnan is actually talaga ang kahandaan, yung pagiging ligtas ng ating eskwelahan. Sa June 5, kailangan yun namang quality ng pagtuturo ang ating upuan.
Aside from providing maintenance services, the DepEd is also busy with conducting disaster resiliency seminars for parents, students, and teachers across the country.
Bahagi kasi ng paghahanda sa Brigada Eskwela ay yung pagiging safe ng mga bata. Para nagkakaroon tayo ng safety measures na natitrain natin, na nabibigyan natin ng orientation ng mga magulang para laging handa sa kung ano man ang sakuna.
The school administration continuously invites volunteers to join the Brigada Eskwela to accomplish more tasks before the 4,000 students come to school by June. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Navotas City.
Volunteers have started the repair of damaged facilities of schools across Metro Manila today. For teachers and parents, such preparations are essential for the health and safety of students this coming school year. Maki Libradilla reports.
Yung pong mga repairs ay mainly sa mga classrooms, yung i-maintain na lang po mga upuan, yun po yung usual na madalas masira, yung mga tables.
Siyempre
Siyempre, para po sa ano ng mga bata, sa kalinisan ng anak ko, para maiwasan mga sakit-sakit.
Emilia is one of the volunteer parents who participated in the launching of Brigada Eskwela today at Ramon Magsaysay High School in Manila. She insists that school surroundings could affect his daughter's health. Brigada Eskwela volunteers in Ramon Magsaysay reached to more than 600 today, including some Department of Public Works and Highways personnel who did maintenance works to the school's drainage system. Meanwhile, alumni and representative of private companies are the majority of the volunteers in Parañaque National High School's Brigada Eskwela.
Since 1969, marami na po tayong mga alumni na maganda na lahat ng buhay, hindi lang sa Pilipinas kundi sa ibang bansa. Tumutulong po sila kung ano man yung mga kailangan natin para sa mga bata.
Free services like first aid training, dental and optical checkup has been provided for parents and students. Parañaque National High School has 24,000 students, which is the greatest number of students in the country. Meanwhile, volunteers in Bagong Silangan Elementary School aim not only to clean and repair. Last year, the school won the second place in Brigada Eskwela Best Implementer for Mega School Regional level. That's why volunteers, students, and parents show obvious effort to bag the first place this year.
Sa tulong ng napakaraming mga taong hininga namin ng suporta.
Maki Libradilla, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Vice President Leni Robredo has pushed for strengthening educational programs for indigenous people. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
During the celebration of the National Indigenous Peoples Education Festival in Davao City today, the Vice President emphasized the need for a stronger educational program for students from the indigenous people community.
Kailangan talaga siyang tulungan na malaki dahil sabi mo nga siya lang yung college na parang devoted talaga for IP education. Tingin natin yun yung crucial sa pag-angat sa IP communities more than dun sa mga paunti-unting tulong. Yung pinakamalaking bagay talaga yung education kasi ito yung magbe-bridge nung napapag-iwanan sila.
Robredo also promised to push for a resolution to provide rights of indigenous people to have a position and voice in the government.
Yung sa atin, yung gusto din nating i-advocate talaga, yung empowerment. Empowerment in the sense na bigyan talagang mas maraming spaces for participation. Yung mga IPs sa mga decision-making bodies ng gobyerno.
Members of the indigenous community agree with the plan of Robredo.
Panahon na jud aron mo tindog ta. Itindog ang atong mga katungod o pagawason ang atong pagkaanindot, ang atong mga nagkadaiyang kadato isip mga lumad na nakagamot sa atong kultura.
Also, Robredo has delivered a message during the 5th anniversary of the Local Educators Advancement Program or LEAP.
This is truly something to be proud of because for every educator trained, inspired, and committed to the art of teaching, there are hundreds of young minds transformed and empowered. Lahat po tayong mga educators ay mistulang mga puno at ang inyong mga estudyante ang inyong binhi.
She also shared her experience when she became a teacher for 10 years. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Philippine delegation is able to convince the international community regarding the human rights situation in the country, according to the Department of Interior and Local Government. Leslie Longbowen will tell us why.
The Philippine delegation's participation before the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, Switzerland, gained positive result according to the Department of Interior and Local Government. The agency adds the delegation's meeting with representatives of the European Union in Brussels yielded the same outcome. The primary issue discussed was the anti-illegal drugs campaign of the government. Based on the report, around 1.2 million drug users and pushers surrendered to the government since the start of the campaign. Over 2,000 individuals were killed in police operations. The group, however, clarified that the 9,000 deaths resulted from murder and homicide. This after allegations that more than 7,000 were victims of extrajudicial killings, which the department denied. DILG Assistant Secretary Epimako Densing III also says the anti-illegal drugs operations during the first 3 months of the Duterte administration are 10 times higher compared to the last 6 months of the Aquino administration. That's why it is not surprising that the number of deaths are also higher, although the death ratio is actually the same.
So in other words, there is one death for every 20 anti-illegal drugs operations, whether during the Aquino administration or the Duterte administration. The only difference is that there are more deaths now because there are more anti-illegal drugs operations.
Densing also says they have seen an improvement when the anti-illegal drugs operations of PNP resumed in March.
9,432 police operations from March 6 to May 5, and the number of deaths only numbered to 183. So an improvement of the ratio of 1:20, now we are now 1:50.
The delegation believes that the review attendees were convinced with their presentation.
So after Senator Alan Peter Cayetano gave also an overview of the true situation of the human rights situation in our country, including the anti-illegal drugs campaign, we were very confident that the 109 countries who attended the interaction, the UPR interaction with the Philippines, were convinced.
Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Philippine National Police welcomes the plan of the Commission on Human Rights to probe alleged human rights violations committed by cops against suspects, especially after Abu Sayyaf member Saad Samad Kiram died after he was arrested. Grace Casin will tell us why.
Police Director General Ronald De La Rosa says they are willing to cooperate with the Commission on Human Rights in Region 7 on its plan to investigate the death of Abu Sayyaf member Saad Samad Kiram. Saad died on May 4 in Cortez, Bohol on his attempt to escape from authorities.
Gusto nila mag-imbestiga? Ha? Sige, imbestigahan natin. We're open. Imbestigahan natin yan.
But De La Rosa notes that the commission should likewise investigate the killings done by the rebel and terrorist groups against civilians.
Sana pati yung mga pinuputulan ng ulo ng Abu Sayyaf, iimbestigahan rin nila yun. Sabihan mo yung CHR, huwag lang mag-limit dito sa side natin.
For its part, the CHR says it will investigate any case as long as it violates the human rights violations. The Commission had asked the Office of the Ombudsman to investigate the alleged secret cell in Manila Police District. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The National Bureau of Investigation arrested the 5 persons who were allegedly operating betting stations in Santa Cruz and Quiapo, Manila. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The National Bureau of Investigation conducted simultaneous operations in Santa Cruz and Quiapo, Manila on Friday night as part of the government's campaign against illegal gambling. 5 suspects who are allegedly involved in bookies or illegal off-track betting were arrested. They were identified as Reynaldo Nazaret, Clordelisa Cortez Rotor, Arlene T., Rose Fernandez, and Anthony Moran. The operations were conducted after the Games and Amusement Board sought NBI's assistance.
Pag tumataya po sa bookies, hindi po yan pumapasok sa gobyerno.
Mitra warns that the Duterte administration is determined to stop illegal gambling operations, and this is just the beginning of the campaign against bookies. A suspect who is managing a nightclub admitted that they are involved in illegal gambling. He said they previously operate an off-track betting station but could not keep payments for the permit.
Masama po palang maglagay ng bookies dahil hindi nakakabuti po sa gobyerno. Humingi po ako ng tawad sa Duterte administration.
The suspects were now charged before the Manila Prosecutor's Office and are facing 6 to 12 years in prison. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Philippine National Police nabbed 3 illegal recruiters in an entrapment operation in Manila. Grace Casin will tell us why.
Illegal recruiters usually meet their victims inside this fast food chain in Manila. But on Friday, they didn't know it was the last after their victims reported them to the authorities and arrested them in an entrapment operation. The victims recount each of them giving 50,000 pesos to the suspects in exchange for a job in a dairy farm in Japan.
Ex-abroad po ako, sir. Lahat yung naipon ko, sir, doon ko binuhos sa kanila para lang makabalik uli ako.
The victims started to doubt when, despite the suspects' repeated demand for processing fee, they were not able to leave the country. Until they found out that the suspects were not registered under the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration or POEA. The suspects will face multiple charges.
Kakasuhan sila ng violation ng Republic Act 8042 or the Migrant Workers Act, specifically dun sa may illegal recruitment, tsaka large-scale illegal recruitment, tsaka large-scale estafa.
One of the suspects denies the allegation.
Wala akong alam dyan sa mga transaksyon nila.
Authorities again remind job seekers who plan to work abroad to check with POEA if the agency is registered before engaging into a transaction. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The performance of the agriculture sector shows a significant improvement during the first quarter of 2017. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The Philippine Statistics Authority reports that rice production has reached 4.42 million metric tons in the first quarter of 2017. The figure is higher by 12.38% as compared to the same period last year. Thus, rice production shared mainly to the 5.28% increase in the agri-sector's performance ratings in the first quarter of the year. The Department of Agriculture explained that the good weather condition and the effectiveness of their programs mainly contributed to their achievement. Based on the record of the Philippine Statistics Authority, parts of the increase in rice production may be attributed to the encouragement of using hybrid rice.
The 5.28 growth of the agri-sector could be attributed to the blessings of a good climate and favorable conditions in the farming sector. It is also an indication that we are on the right track in the agri and fishery development.
DA said farmers enjoy this growth as it translates to the high farm gate price of palay, which reaches 20 to 21 pesos per kilo. It also increases farmers' purchasing power.
Meron po silang higher purchasing power ngayon. And in fact po, nagmamanifest yung mga sa market, ang mga binibili nilang mga pagkain o nutritional requirement, makikita nyo po na mas malaki po ngayon na nagkakarne or yung mga mas matataas po na mga presyong bilihin.
Meanwhile, farmers can now use for free an instrument called Metos, which guides farmers as to what seeds or crops to plant and on which season. The grant for the use of the equipment amounts to 380,000 euros. The program's pilot area is in Bugias, Benguet, wherein a unit can serve around 500 to 1,000 hectares of agri-land.
This can really help the farmers predict whether uulan ba itong the next few days, should I do pesticides management or not? Or should I harvest already in advance?
Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Cancer survivors shared their experiences and lessons they learned after suffering from cancer in a special event in Nueva Ecija. Robbie De Guzman will tell us why.
More than 100 cancer survivors participated in the 21st Patients' Day Summer Edition in Gapan City, Nueva Ecija on Saturday. Orientation, seminars and programs were also conducted to entertain patients and as a way to express gratitude for their recovery. The program aims to value and sympathize with people suffering from cancer.
Sabi sa ating tayo ay may cancer, ay tapos na ang lahat o katapusan na ng mundo. Hindi pa. Meron pang karugtong o may pag-asa pa. Sapagkat dala ng gamutan natin, makabagong paraan ng gamutan ngayon, nakapagdudulot ito ng kalunasan doon sa ating karamdaman.
The gathering also aimed at explaining cancer and the system of support groups for people diagnosed with it.
Hindi lamang kami nagbibigay inspiration
inspirasyon doon sa mga aming mga kamag-anak. Kung hindi, doon sa kapwa naming mga cancer patient.
Una sa lahat, sa Panginoon ang tawag natin. Makakasurvive din tayo. Katulad ko ngayon, makaka-4 years na ako. Sabi naman ito malinis naman na yung buwan ko.
Kami ay nasisiyahan. Maligaya kami, nakikita kami na ang aming mga problema ay nawawala.
Dr. J.P. Cruz Cancer Clinic is one of the clinics that helps poor cancer patients. The clinic is also open to conduct activities helping people in need of medical service, particularly cancer patients. Robbie De Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
For the first time, British indie pop superstar Dua Lipa visited the Philippines. Nino Armilio will tell us why.
Thanks, DJ Kid, for letting us steal your time.
Hello.
Hello. Dua Lipa is on the bus.
Before her exclusive show in the country, Dua Lipa rendered a live performance on the one and only FM station on wheels, Wish 107.5 Buzz. The 21-year-old singer sang her biggest single, Blow Your Mind, which entered the top 30 of the UK singles and was on the top 40 of the US pop radio.
Hey, if you don't like the way I talk, why am I on your mind? If you don't like the way I rock, finish your glass of wine. We fight and we argue, you'll still love me fine. If we don't mess this whole thing up, guaranteed I can blow your mind. Why?
Dua enjoyed her unique experience while performing aboard the Wish bus. The London-born singer says if she were given another chance, she wanted to return to perform in the Philippines.
I would love to. If you guys will have me, I would absolutely.
We'll absolutely have you back.
This coming June, the English singer, songwriter, and model will launch her album. She said that this is a far cry compared to the pop songs hit nowadays.
You know, this album will really show like another side of who I am, and it's very diverse and touches on
fantastic
different genres. So I'm just excited to see what everybody thinks and which songs people like the most. I'm just excited to get it out, really.
Wonderful.
Her career in music started when Dua was 14. She did covers of the songs of Christina Aguilera and Nelly Furtado on YouTube. Nino Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Those are the reasons behind the news, May 15, 2017. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.